Hello YouTube, and hello to you, my fellow metalheads. This is Duke Grishnak reporting in for yet another video. Today's video is going to be on a album review. It is going to be from the band rendered Helpless, and it is going to be their album Entities of Transdimensional Emergence. So, start things off, I'm just going to throw this out here. I do not listen to a whole lot of this kind of music. I prefer more traditional death metal and tech death and that sort of thing. So while I do know a handful of bands and listen to bits and pieces of slam and brutal death metal, the reason why I'm particularly focusing on this is because I'm starting to get more into it and check it out more. And Rendered Helpless is one of those bands that I just kind of stumbled upon via YouTube suggestions. And it really kind of was like, oh, cool. So that's why I've picked this one out, is just because they're a newer band and they don't have like a massive following like some of the other more well-known slam and brutal death metal bands out there. And I really think that they have good potential. So that's why I'm going to do this particular album right now. So I'm just going to jump right into it. I really like the imagery in this album. I like the album cover, and I like this sort of theme they have going with, the title of Entities of Transdimensional Emergence. You really think of entities emerging from a different dimension, and that is literally what the album cover is. It's very straight to the point, and in the feel of the song and the songwritings, you kind of, you still get that feel. It's consistent. It's not just like some other slam bands that it's just some ridiculous nonsense, medical terminology just to sound brutal, synaphorectally ripped from a virgin's communistic swag, death and ripened and mutilated, rotted cornucopsy, or whatever the hell, you know what I mean? It makes sense, and it can kind of, if you're just skimming over a list of bands and you see this, you're like, oh, okay, maybe it's not as like a cliche or overdone. And that's why I picked this album up, because it was like, oh, cool, maybe a sci-fi-ish kind of band. Why not? So, jumping straight into it, like I said, with the imagery, it really starts off strong with that imagery, because in the introduction, it really sets the mood. Just like the album cover would lend you to think. And then it just pummels your face through in there. In the very beginning, the first minute or so of the intro, there's sort of this background, and it sounds almost like smaller beasts and more faint, distant cries. And as the minute and a half goes by, the sounds get longer and larger, and it almost gives you this feeling of witnessing this portal emerge in, over a planet or through a black hole, and just witness these beasts start pouring out. A lot of small ones, and they just get bigger and more terrifying, and it really just sets you right in the mood and just carries you on through the rest of it. I'm going to get into the bulk of the content, of the actual musical content, not just introductions and background info now. So it really just, starts off strong. It hits you in the face. It says, hey, look, time to fucking headbang. And then it also, starts to show you off a little bit further into it, that they have a little bit more to offer than just in-your-face brutality. Not that this isn't brutal, but you know what I mean. Yeah, it's just that. It's very simple and it's slow. But one thing that I like about this band is being, slam slash brutal death metal. You know, the two are very, very similar. Some people don't even know the difference, and that's understandable. Like I said, they are very similar. And what I like about this band is that they take elements of both. You know, where slam can be a little more slow and mid-tempo, and brutal can be a bit more intense in your face. They sort of weave the two together, and you start off really strong and just, and then they just kind of just slow down, and it's almost as if they're doing breakdowns without really like being deathcore about it. You know what I mean? There's this slow and it's just calm, not calm, but slow and steady, just build up. That's not necessarily deathcore like. So it's really still staying within that realm of slam and brutal death metal, and it kind of waves in between. And basically, the bulk of the album is sort of like mid-paced. It's very slammy, but it can pick it up and just make it even more brutal and intense. So here's just a little snippet that I think embodies what I'm trying to get at here. Like I said, it was a little bit slower and trudging along on the with the blast beats, and that's kind of the theme of the album. It's very hard and in your face, and it can slow it down a pinch and speed back up, but it doesn't feel awkward. It doesn't feel too extreme of those differences, right? It's not night and day, just that you kind of get lost in that translation, but it kind of smoothly goes back and forth between those sounds, very much so effortlessly. And even in some parts, like I said, you know, you get the slower parts, and you get the really fast parts, and then, you know, then you can even go into parts like here. Hold on. And with that heavy pace and that do 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 do, it almost has, you know, a pinch of sort of like a doom and sludgish sort of, you know, with a loud bass and a guitar just kind of being absent in the mix. It kind of, you know, just adds a sort of newer vibe, which is not that, you know, slowing down, almost breakdown like in the slam riffs, but it just really grinds you down into, like I said, almost doom-esque sort of metal that is well placed for being right in the center of the album. They sort of get you hyped in, and they just it's a constant headbanging journey, whether you're or you're, and then they get you right in the middle, and they just kind of prepare you for it. They slow it down. They said, you know, it's a very hard hitting in the front, and it just kind of slows down and then just builds up with that slow, hard part. And then the second half of the album, it just throws you right back into it. And I think that's well placed and strategic, and it's a nice way to sort of just kind of build you up, and then just, and then boom. It's nice to, you know, not be all over the goddamn place, but they give it a little bit of a woo, if you know what I mean. Another part that I really like about this is how they ended it. I mean, it's been done before, but it's a nice ending, to say the least. And here we go. Yeah, you get the point. It's a slow, quick the little mini guitar solo, and then it just reverbs out until the song just kind of fades out. And it's not done in a way that some albums are done, or songs but in the albums are done, where they just, the song continues but the volume just kind of slows down, or quiets down progressively, and then a new song starts up. It doesn't just kind of fade out in that way. It fades out more naturally than that, if that makes sense. It's not as if someone was just like, insert production slowing of volume. It seems it's almost like it just, they hit those notes and then just, you know, the reverb, the continuation of those notes, and then it just fades out. It's cool. It's different than just, like I said, letting it just slow down to a halt and then just and then done. It's different than just blowing your fucking face off at the very end all the way through the album. It's a nice touch because there isn't really much solos in it. There might be a few little ones kind of in there, but it's really not any sort of pivotal part of this album. It's kind of a cool way to finish it off. I don't know, it's different, and I kind of like it. I don't know why, but you get what I'm trying to say. So, all in all, like I said, I'm kind of getting more into this sort of genre, and they were not one of those, you know, handful of well-known bands that were recommended to me. That's why I checked it out. So if you like slam, if you like brutal death metal, check the guys out. If you're trying to get into them, I would also recommend checking them out, and not just, you know, your typical big name bands like Cranium, Analepsy, Devourment. I mean, definitely still check them out, but even though there's a lot of poor, subpar, repetitive, uncreative slam and brutal death metal bands out there, it's nice to find these little gems here or there, and Rendered Helpless is definitely one of those gems. Highly recommend them. All in all, I would give the album a 7 out of 10 stars. Solid work. I wish there was a few different little things in it. I wish there was a little bit more variety in the vocals and the sound of the vocalist, but all in all, it was a very, very powerful sounding voice. So I can't really give too much gripes, especially within the context of this genre. It's not known for having a whole lot of like vocal variety. It tends towards the low gutturals, pig squeals, and whatnot. So I can't really fault it on it, but there are some other bands in this genre that do use a little bit more variety in their vocals, and I like those ones, and it kind of makes them stand out a little bit more. I wish they would use a little bit more vocal variety coming into their next albums, just to kind of take them from here to here, you know? Just little tiny things like that that could kind of be improved on. I wish there's a few more parts that were really, really fast, just to showcase their variety a little bit more. But all in all, 7 out of 10. The gripes I had with it were kind of petty, and were more of constructive criticisms than actual gripes or complaints. So definitely check out Rendered Helpless if that is your thing, or if you are curious about it becoming your thing. Thank you. Have a good day.